What is Derek Powers' ultimate plan for the Batman legacy? What will that mean for Bruce and Gotham City as a whole? Well, let's hop into the pages of Batman Beyond White Knight issue number 4 and find out together, shall we? So then, as the book opens up, we're at a sleazy barcade. Yes, apparently they still do have barcades in this dark dystopian future. You think they're playing the same arcade cabinets? Or do you think, like, the PS2 is considered retro enough to be played there? More members of the Sons of Azrael get all upset when the television upsells Bruce Wayne and his importance to the legacy of Gotham City. Naturally, they think Azrael and his flaming sword did more good for Gotham than Batman ever did. This in turn ends up getting them in a bit of a brawl with the runaway Jackie Napier, daughter of the Joker, who naturally claims that the Joker did more to transform this city than anyone. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, wait, isn't Jackie like 12? What is she doing at the barcade? Well, apparently this whole place was serving underage patrons, and we know that because the GTO shows up next and starts tasing people like it's going out of fashion. Much like in real life, cops aren't supposed to tase teens, but unfortunately also, like in real life, they do it all the damn time. Now, why exactly would the GTO and by extension Derek Powers be interested in Jackie Napier? Well, apparently Derek, as a scientist, is pretty impressed with her young mind. She was already once able to scramble the facial recognition tech that the GTO uses to keep tabs on Gotham citizens. And much like Terry, it seems that one of Derek's evil superpowers is being able to sniff out the lost, wayward youth and give them a father figure that they always wanted. Jackie even admitting in this issue that she never knew the Joker or her father Jack Napier for that matter, but maybe if she sticks with Derek and does what she's told, she might just learn all about it. Now, elsewhere in the city, Bruce Wayne comes to after falling off that building at the end of the previous issue. Barbara Gordon and Duke were able to scoop him up and fake arrest him so they could allow him to escape for real once again. Bruce is of course his regular old salty, surly self, too proud to thank anyone for actively helping him. It's also made abundantly clear too that both Barbara and Bruce have their own motivations and their own ideas about what the city needs right now. We also learn some very interesting stuff about what happened to Barbara and Dick's relationship in the intervening years between series. Apparently they were actually married and even had a kid. One that Barbara sadly does not see near as much as she should because she's too busy working being the commissioner in a city that's going to hell. And yes, the irony isn't lost on her at all that she ended up becoming exactly like her father Jim. Though Bruce, in one of the only nice things he actually says to Barbara this issue, makes it clear that even despite her upbringing, she turned out pretty damn good and is sure this kid will be the same way. Barbara also says that maybe it's not him and her who need the heart-to-heart right now. Maybe Bruce should go back and try and talk things out with Nightwing. Like most of his sidekicks, all they ever really wanted is his approval, and she thinks that it could probably pull him back from the dark side. Of course, by the time Barbara finishes her thought and turns around, Batman and Robin are already gone again. Now back over with Terry, we see that his loss to Batman and Robin actually greatly affected him. He's not sure if he can keep doing this anymore, and to try and keep him close, Derek decides to let him in on his big secret. As we discover, apparently militarizing the GTO and turning Gotham City into an oppressive police state actually did have an end goal in mind. Mainly data collection. Derek Powers is going to take everything that he's learned from the GTO as well as the brand new tech from the stolen Batsuit and use it to create an army of RoboCops. A colder, even more morally devoid fighting force that Powers plans to sell off to the army for big profit. But moreover than that though, Derek says this is how things need to be, because Gotham itself is being secretly invaded. By who and what? Well, we don't exactly learn that this issue. Now, where did Bruce get off to in this issue? Well, him and Hollowjack actually go all the way back to the ruins of the Batcave. Bruce thinks now would be the perfect time to get his old prototype flying Batmobile online. Before he went to jail, the technology wasn't there, but now that he's out again, and now that he's managed to steal a power source from Nightwing's suit, he thinks he can finally get it running. Batman and Joker aren't alone either, as they are soon joined by a friendly stray dog, and why yes, they do end up naming him Ace the Bat-Hound. Well, actually, in fairness, Jack names him Ace the Bat-Hound because, you know, the Ace is the second best card in a deck. Now, while Bruce gets ready for the next stage of his plan, Duke the New Robin makes plans to try and look into Terry's father's murder a little closer to see if he can find any connections to Powers. We also learn that apparently a lot of the kids from Backport, where Duke is from, are absolutely loving the idea of a Robin who looks like them, and why even even in the academy, the other cops jokingly referred to him as Robin because he was so good at laying down, covering fire, and even taught close quarters weapons, including bow staffs. Duke ends up running into Nightwing on this mission after discovering that the assassin who murdered Warren was also shot dead by Dick's own second-in-command. In his prime, Nightwing probably would have been able to win this battle, but he's been riding a desk for so long, Duke is actually able to get the upper hand on him, and this new Robin defeats one of the old ones. Now, the finale of this issue is all about Terry. He still feels really conflicted about everything he's learned from Derek, and as such, he decides to visit his father's grave where he's met by his mother. We learn that after his parents divorced, Terry moved in with his father in hopes that maybe he could have gotten his parents back together. It didn't work because, well, Warren was more married to his job than he was to anything else. This is why Terry started acting out in an attempt to get his father's attention. At the very worst, he actually ended up running afoul of one of the sons of Azrael. When Warren was forced to pick up his son, he ended up laying into him and saying a bunch of things that he could never take back. That's all pretty sad, but believe it or not, those aren't the last things he said to his son. They had one last conversation 5 hours before he was killed by Mr. Fix, wherein Warren told his son that Derek Powers was crazy and needed to be stopped. Meaning that all this time, Derek thought he was working Terry, when in reality it was probably the other way around, and Terry only agreed to be part of this Batman Beyond project so he could get closer to Powers. And so that was Batman Beyond White Knight issue number 4, everyone. Another really solid issue and a really solid series. Probably not as knock your socks off as the issues that preceded it, but this one does a lot of really hard narrative lifting. It's really cool to see Ace show up in this story. You can tell there was a real effort made to try and canonize everything you remember from the Batman Beyond cartoon show into this new comic. I like that every character has their own unique goals for going about doing what they're doing, and it's not so cut and dry. I really love the re-envisioning of Derek Powers as a villain. In the show, I always thought he was just kind of a cut and dry evil industrialist, but here he's re-envisioned to be something of a Fagin-esque character. By taking advantage of Jackie, Terry, and even Dick in some regard by inserting himself as a twisted father figure in their lives. As always, the art is filled with a bunch of great visual gags and Easter eggs too. If you keep your eyes peeled in the graveyard, you'll see that actually Bill Finger and Bob Kane actually have headstones there. I thought that was a very nice little touch. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one a solid 8 out of 10. Good stuff. Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.